Mar, 5, 1965. Dearest Suzie, how are you and the boys getting along? I hope this finds you all okay. I am on OD tonight, so I have been pretty busy. OD here is a lot different than in the States. We have the worry of being overrun, so we really have to check the guards close. And they sit there with their weapons loaded all the time. They've just started something new here, too. At midnight, I have to go out and check our outer perimeter guards. They are Vietnamese. This should be a real experience because you never know if they are going to get excited and take a pot shot at you. Yesterday was something too. We had an operation down south of here, and for the first time since I've been in the gun platoon, I got face to face with the VC. The ground troops flushed about 40 of them out into an open field, and we went down to check them out. When they saw us, they threw down their weapons and started to run. We got right down, just off the ground, and rounded them up like cowboys rounding up cattle. We captured 25 and killed a few. I don't know exactly how many. But it was the best day we've had in a long time. They have another big operation tomorrow, but I won't get to go. The weather over here is the same. Miserable. But we should start getting some rain in the next couple of weeks. Maybe that will cool things off a little. I miss you all very much and love you too much. All my love. Bill. Today is another example where Popi wrote 2 letters. Here is the second. 5. Mar, 65. Dearest Suzie, I got a letter from you today, finally, and was glad to get it. I'm glad that you are all right. I'm sending you that money order that your mother sent to me. I can't cash it over here. I hope that you can cash it. I will send her a jewelry box as soon as I can find a nice one. I was real glad to hear that Johnny and the old man worked out a deal with the car. I was really worried about it. I had an unusual experience yesterday. I was on a regular mission hauling a colonel around. He was visiting the different province chiefs, who are the head Vietnamese in the different areas. When it came time to eat chow, we were all invited to eat with one of the province chiefs. We couldn't refuse because the colonel told us that would insult the chief. And also, if we didn't eat what was offered to us, it was an insult. So we went. The province chief lived in a nice 2-story French-style home. The dinner table was real long, and there were about 30 people at the table. Most of them were high-ranking American and ARVN officers. First thing they offered us was cognac. We could refuse that because we were flying. Then they tried to give us wine, and then beer, and finally cokes. Although they couldn't believe we couldn't drink the other stuff. The meal itself was 3-course. The first course was lobster. They were served whole, and they were only about 5 inches long. Naturally, I had to take one and eat at least part of it. There was no butter or sauce, only hot pepper and bread to go with it. You know I don't like that sort of thing anyway, and I thought I would gag when that damn lobster looked back at me. But I managed to get a little of it down. The next course was fish. I don't know what kind, but it was breaded and well done, so it went down a little easier. But again, there was no sauce or anything. Just fish and bread. The last course was steak, and surprised me because it was very good. It was served with French fries. It was cooked French style, a style called Chateaubriand. For dessert, we had a small fruit and some kind of syrup. It was called lychee nuts. They looked pretty good, but I took one bite and almost threw up. They taste terrible, and they were much too sweet. So I just said to hell with the province chief's feelings. I wasn't going to eat those things. Anyway, I hope I never get in a position where I have to eat with these people again. Today was moving day for me. I am now a Cobra. That's what our armed platoon calls themselves. They are called various things by other platoons, things like snakes, or worms, or privileged bastards, or SOBs, friendly things like that. But anyway, it should be pretty interesting for a while. I figure by the time I get bored over here, I will be so short, I won't care. I started growing a mustache about 2 weeks ago. That is the rage over here right now. But I couldn't stand it, so I cut it off today. But Lewis got a picture of it, so I will send you the picture when it is developed. Well, I guess I better close for today. I love you all very much and miss you. Kiss each of the boys for me. All my love. Bill. Today's letters give us 2 very different glimpses into Popi's life in Vietnam. one full of tension, and the other marked by an almost surreal sense of formality. The first letter opens with Bill writing on OD duty, officer of the day. He's responsible for checking the guards posted around the base, but as always, the job comes with an extra layer of danger in Vietnam. The perimeter guards he's checking aren't American, they're South Vietnamese, and he admits matter-of-factly that he's not entirely sure if they'll recognize him or if they'll shoot first. This letter also marks a milestone in Bill's time with the gun platoon, the first time he writes about coming face-to-face with the enemy. He describes the moment almost like something out of a Western. 40 Viet Cong flushed into an open field, helicopters swooping low to round them up like cattle. It's a strange, detached way to describe something so violent, but maybe that's the only way to make sense of what he's seen. It's hard to imagine the tension of those nighttime checks, walking the perimeter with loaded weapons on both sides, hoping that a nervous guard doesn't mistake you for the enemy. This war was so often defined by uncertainty, and even though Popi doesn't linger on it for long, there's a subtle acknowledgement in this letter that the people protecting the base at night could just as easily be the ones threatening it. The second letter, written the same day, couldn't feel more different. Popi finds himself sitting down to a formal dinner with high-ranking Vietnamese officers, forced to navigate the delicate etiquette of diplomacy while trying not to gag on lobster and lychee nuts. As I've mentioned before, he was very solidly a meat and potatoes guy, and to hear him struggle with this meal is actually pretty entertaining. It's one of the only times so far that he lets humor come through in his writing, picturing him trying to choke down that lobster with its eyes still staring back at him, just to avoid insulting the hosts. But the absurdity of the meal doesn't completely cover the tension underneath. This kind of hospitality, French-style homes, multi-course meals, was often reserved for the South Vietnamese elite, who were accused of corruption and living in comfort while American soldiers fought and died on their behalf. These French homes also point to the history of colonialism in the Indo-Chinese region by nations like France. Even though they are gone, their presence is still felt. In this letter, Popi shares that he's officially been assigned to the armed platoon, the Cobras. It's another step deeper into the danger of combat flying. The other platoons had nicknames for the Cobras: snakes, worms, privileged bastards. It was the kind of teasing that masked something heavier. The men in the gun platoon flew more missions, took more risks, and lost more lives. But instead of writing about fear, Popi jokes about trying to grow a mustache, a little act of rebellion in the middle of everything. Though he ends up shaving it in the letter, it becomes something he keeps for the rest of his life. One of the things that stands out most in these letters is how much space Popi gives to describing the meal. Food can become a strange kind of memory anchor, especially in times of war. It's a sensory experience that ties you to a specific place and moment. Even though he hated the lobster and the lychee nuts, he still took the time to write about them. As an anthropologist, I would say we're obligated to share meals with people. Food and table manners say a lot about a culture and their values. Knowing he was given this opportunity excites me. It's a true glimpse into the lives of the people he's fighting alongside. In these letters, Popi moves through worlds that don't quite make sense together. One minute circling over fields in a helicopter, the next trying to mind his table manners in a setting strange to him. But beneath it all is the steady rhythm of life at war. Missions, letters, missing home, and trying to hold on to whatever pieces of normalcy he can. The photo I chose for today depicts an offensive position on a perimeter of what I can assume is a base. It is elevated and has sandbags stacked against the walls, with earth used as fencing on either side. Are these the walls he had to check that night? I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.